My sister stood up in the middle of my wedding reception, tapped a spoon against her champagne glass until the whole room went quiet, and announced that she was pregnant. Everyone gasped. Everyone clapped. Everyone forgot, for the rest of the night, that it was supposed to be my wedding. 3 days later, her own husband handed me a voice recording that proved the entire thing was a lie from start to finish. Not just the pregnancy, the plan to fake a miscarriage too, and pin it on him. I want you to sit with that for a second, because I sat with it for a lot longer than a second, and it changed how I see my entire family. My name is Jessica, and this is the story of the night my sister tried to steal my wedding, and the recording that ended up costing her everything. I'm 31. I got married 2 months ago to a man named Michael, who I've been with for 6 years. We bought a house together last year. We planned this wedding for almost 2 years. And honestly, up until that night, I thought my family was, if not perfect, at least functional. I have one sister, Ashley, 28, married to a quiet, steady guy named Kevin. Growing up, Ashley was always the one who needed the room. My mom, Linda, will tell you it's because Ashley was the baby of the family. I'll tell you it's because Ashley figured out early that tears and drama got her attention faster than achievement ever did. At my college graduation, she fainted during the ceremony. Turned out later she'd skipped breakfast on purpose and stood in the sun too long, just so the paramedics would be called during my walk across the stage. At my engagement dinner, she announced she and Kevin were trying for a baby. In the middle of my toast, I let it go. I always let it go. Because that's what you do with a sister like that. You let her have her moment, and you hope eventually she outgrows it. I did not think she would do it again, bigger, at my own wedding. I was wrong. The reception was beautiful. String lights, a live band, my dad crying during our first dance, all of it. About an hour after dinner, right when the best man was wrapping up his toast, Ashley grabbed a microphone from the DJ table. I remember thinking, okay, she wants to say something sweet about me, that's nice. Instead, she said, I know today is about Jess and Michael, but I just found out something incredible, and I can't hold it in another second. She looked at Kevin, who was frozen with his fork halfway to his mouth, clearly having no idea what was coming. We're having a baby. The room erupted. People stood up. My own mother started crying and hugging strangers at nearby tables. My aunt started a toast to Ashley. My new mother-in-law asked if we could get a picture of both happy couples. I stood there in my wedding dress, watching my reception turn into a baby shower, and I told myself, don't make this about you, Jess. Be happy for her. So I smiled. I hugged her. I said congratulations. Inside, something cracked, but I told myself it was just wedding day emotions, that I was being petty, that a good sister would just be happy. Michael squeezed my hand under the table and whispered, Are you okay? I said I was fine. I was not fine, but I didn't understand yet just how not fine the whole thing actually was. The next morning, still riding the high of the wedding, still exhausted and glowing, I mentioned to my mom on the phone how surprised I was by Ashley's announcement, how I wished she'd picked a different moment. My mother's tone changed instantly. Jessica, your sister is pregnant. This might be the only good news our family gets all year. And you're upset about timing? You've always had a problem sharing attention. I sat there stunned. I reminded her gently that it was my wedding day. She said I was being dramatic, that pregnancy news doesn't wait for a convenient moment, that I should be ashamed of myself for even bringing it up, instead of just being excited for my little sister. I called Michael's mom next, half hoping for a different reaction, and got something similar, a soft, well, these things happen, honey. Family is complicated. Nobody in my family, it seemed, was capable of saying, yeah, that was a strange thing for her to do at your wedding. Instead, I became the villain for feeling anything other than joy. Michael, to his credit, was furious on my behalf, but even he got pulled aside by his own parents at the after brunch and gently told to not make waves with my family so early into the marriage. So we swallowed it. Again. For the next 3 days, my phone group chat with extended family was nothing but pregnancy talk, nursery colors, names, due date guesses, should Ashley announce on social media yet. Not one message about the wedding, The honeymoon we were about to leave for? Nothing. I told myself I was being small for caring. I told myself this was probably the last time I'd let her steal a moment from me. Because after the honeymoon, I was going to create some space. Boundaries, I thought. That's what a healthy adult does. I had no idea that space was about to be created for me in a much darker way than I expected. 3 days after the wedding, Kevin called me. His voice was flat, careful, like a man trying not to shake. He asked if he could come by, alone, no Ashley. I said of course, thinking maybe he wanted advice on nursery furniture or something sweet like that. Instead, he sat down at my kitchen table, put his phone face up in front of me, and said, "I need you to hear this before I do anything else." He hit play on a voice memo. It was Ashley's voice, clear as day, talking to her best friend Brianna on speakerphone while she thought she was alone in the bathroom. Kevin had been outside the door, about to knock, when he heard his own name. "Obviously, I'm not actually pregnant. Bri, keep your voice down," Ashley said, laughing. I just needed something bigger than Jess's stupid wedding, and this was perfect. Everyone was staring at her all day. It was so annoying. Brianna, on the other end, asked the obvious question: what happens when there's no baby bump in a few months? Ashley didn't even hesitate. "That's the easy part. I'll wait like 6-7 weeks. Tell everyone I slipped in the shower because the bathroom floor was wet. Blame Kevin for not fixing that stupid mat. Say I lost the baby. Everyone will feel so bad for me. I'll get like another 2 months of sympathy out of it. Easy." She laughed again. My stomach turned listening to it. Kevin's face was gray. "She was going to use me," he said quietly. "She was going to tell everyone I got her hurt. My own parents already think I'm careless around the house. She was going to destroy my name to keep a fake pregnancy going a few extra weeks." I asked him the only thing that mattered right then. "What do you want to do?" He looked at me and said, "I want everyone to hear it, all at once. I'm done protecting her from herself." We agreed the family dinner already planned for that Saturday, the post-wedding catch-up dinner my mother had organized at her house. Ironically, to celebrate both good things happening in the family was the moment. No ambush beforehand, no confrontation in private where she could cry her way out of it. Just the truth, in front of everyone who had spent 3 days calling me selfish for feeling hurt on my own wedding day. The days leading up to that dinner were strange. Ashley texted me pregnancy symptom memes. My mother asked if I'd bought Ashley a big sister gift yet, since apparently I was supposed to be excited to become an aunt. I said nothing. I smiled through it, because for once in my life, I actually had the truth in my pocket, and I wasn't going to waste it by tipping my hand early. Michael asked me twice if I was sure I wanted to do this in front of everyone instead of privately. I told him no privately. Ashley always found a way to spin it, to cry, to make herself the victim. This needed witnesses. This needed to happen exactly the way she liked to operate in public, in front of an audience, so there was no room left to lie her way out. Saturday came. My mother's dining room was set with her good china, obviously determined to make this dinner about celebrating the growing family. Ashley sat at the head of the table, glowing in a loose dress she absolutely did not need to be wearing yet, one hand resting dramatically on her stomach every time someone looked her way. Kevin sat beside her, unusually quiet, his phone already in his jacket pocket. About 20 minutes in, right as my mother raised a glass to "new beginnings for both my daughters," Ashley opened her mouth to say something, probably another update, another detail to keep the spotlight glowing. Kevin spoke first. "Actually, before that," he said, voice steady, "I think everyone should hear something." He pulled out his phone and pressed play. Ashley's own voice filled the dining room. "Obviously, I'm not actually pregnant, Bri. Keep your voice down." The room went dead silent. My mother's wine glass stopped halfway to her lips. Ashley's face went white, then red, and she lunged for the phone, saying it was a joke, a private joke, that Kevin was twisting things, but the recording kept playing. Her own plan, in her own words, about the wet bathroom floor, about blaming Kevin, about the sympathy she expected to milk out of a fake miscarriage. I looked at my mother and said, calmly, the only line I'd been saving up for 3 days, So which one of us was actually being dramatic about a moment that wasn't ours, Mom? Nobody answered. Ashley was crying real tears this time, but nobody moved to comfort her the way they had at my wedding. My aunt actually got up from the table. Kevin sat there, quiet, having said everything he needed to say with one recording. My mother looked at me, then at Ashley, then back at her wine glass, and for the first time in my life, I watched her run out of excuses for her favorite daughter. The fallout was fast and, if I'm honest, satisfying in a way I'm not proud of but won't pretend I didn't feel. Ashley tried the classic move, said she was confused, not in a good place mentally. Anything to reframe it as a cry for help instead of a calculated lie. It didn't stick, mostly because Kevin, for the first time in their marriage, stopped covering for her. He moved out that week, told his own parents everything, and started talking to a lawyer about what came next for the marriage. My mother, to her credit, actually called me 2 days later and apologized. Really apologized. Not the half apology kind for how she'd treated me after the wedding. She admitted she'd spent years making excuses for Ashley because it was easier than holding her accountable, and that hearing the recording out loud, in her own dining room, was the first time she couldn't look away from it. Ashley and I haven't spoken since that dinner. She's tried texting a few times, alternating between anger and apology depending on the day. I haven't responded. Michael and I finally took our honeymoon, 3 weeks late, and it was everything our wedding day should have been: quiet, ours, nobody else's spotlight to share. I think about that dinner a lot. Not because I feel guilty, but because I keep wondering how long it would have gone on if Kevin hadn't happened to be outside that bathroom door at exactly the wrong moment for Ashley and exactly the right moment for the truth. So I'll ask you what I still ask myself. Was I wrong to let Kevin expose her at a family dinner instead of handling it privately? Or after everything, the graduation, the engagement dinner, the wedding, and now this was a public reckoning, exactly what almost 20 years of getting away with it finally earned her? If this story made your jaw drop, do me a favor and hit like, drop a comment telling me what you would have done in my mother's chair, and share this with someone who needs to hear that karma sometimes shows up as a voice memo. Come back tomorrow, I've got another one, and trust me, this next family makes mine look tame.